Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting for Tuesday, September the 15th. It's currently 7 o'clock. I will call the meeting to order. The meeting, just to make everybody aware, the meeting proceedings will be broadcast live via YouTube and are also available in recorded archive on the village website. So I'll call the meeting to order. Approval of the agenda. The recommendation would read
that the agenda be approved as circulated.
Someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Public input. Public is permitted to provide comments to council on any item shown on the meeting agenda. A 2-minute time limit applies to speakers. We have nobody here. We'll now move on to the delegations. We have Tom Zajac and Helena Michels to provide a PowerPoint, or actually we're just going to go through our binder here about the Coquitlam Search and Rescue regarding a request to appoint a council liaison. So welcome and thank you for coming. Okay. Yeah.
Stand up. Okay. There's a friend on it. All right. So thanks again for having us tonight. So I'm Helena. This is Tom, our president. And so we do have a few more slides than time. So I might pick up the pace a little bit. So I'll try and guide you through the slides as we're going through. So I'm going to skip the, front slide 2, slide 3, and skip to slide 4. So who are we? So Coquitlam Search and Rescue has been around almost 50 years, since 1972, before my time, probably before Tom too, and we're a 100% volunteer run. Our response area is flanked by Indian Arm to the west and Pitt River to the east, then Fraser River to the south, and all the way up to the bottom of Garibaldi Provincial Park. So within that serves the Tri-Cities, Anmore, Belcarra, Burnaby, New Westminster, plus the surrounding rivers and lakes, on top of the wilderness areas. So our average call volume actually is around 40 calls, and but 2019 was busier than average. And as of today, we've had more than 50 call-outs in 2020, including we just had one tonight actually. So next slide number 5. So you probably see us around your community. Actually, Tom is a resident of Anmore, plus 2 other of our members live here. And we often respond to call-outs around Bunsen Lake on the Halver-London Trail and Diaz Vista, as I'm sure you guys have heard. And so we actually end up doing a lot of training exercises in around Anmore and Belcarra because of this. For example, back in April, we partnered with the Bunsen Warden to do a live stretcher carry exercise so that we could practice our new COVID protocols. So next slide. I'll catch up here too. So what we do, there's more than to search and rescue than people think, apart from the obvious searching and rescuing stuff you see on the news. We can also provide assistance during natural disasters like forest fires, floods, and earthquakes. In fact, next week we'll be partaking in a multi-agency wildland fire scenario up at Eagle Mountain Park. And we'll be handing out mock evaluation notices and managing the helicopter landing zone for the exercise. So we also get called out to assist other search and rescue teams all over the province when requested. And services we provide, as you can see on the slide, we train for performing many different types of rescues, and we'll even rescue your dog. For training, we have all-team training every Tuesday evening, plus 1 weekend day per month. And there's additional training for members of our specialty rescue teams as well. Our training is standardized for all SAR groups in the province and overseen by Emergency Management BC. That's my test page going off in my bag. Hopefully it doesn't go off too many more times. So next slide, community engagement. So our members spend time also engaging the community. We have adventure smart presenters who spread safety and prevention messaging to groups such as Girl Guides, cadets, and outdoor clubs. We also come to community events like Ma Murray Day and the Fingerling Festival. So next slide. I Told you I was going to move fast. We have a fleet of rescue vehicles, including our big mobile command center, an equipment truck, a UTV, and we're currently building a new rescue boat. Each of the members provides their own personal equipment, while our team equipment is purchased at the team level. Keeping our equipment current and in good condition is a constant thing. Next slide. So we're thinking about the future. BC Parks and Metro Vancouver have both solidified plans to expand and open 2 more big parks in our response area. So that'd be Pinecone Burke and Widgeon Marsh. We maintain close relationships with these organizations, and we've been consulting with them on the planning of both these parks. As you can imagine, the increase in visitors probably means an increase in rescues for us. So next slide. So how are we funded? Emergency Management BC, they cover our immediate incident expenses, including damaged equipment. The City of Coquitlam supports us through an in-kind use of their town center fire station training, first training and storage of our vehicles, and they also provide maintenance for our fleet. BC Search and Rescue Association also provides the funding that we get from the province. They disperse to all the search and rescue teams. And then annually we apply for casino and community grants. And then last but not least, we have support of generous individuals and corporations around our community. So what do we spend the money on? That'll be the next slide. So equipment and training are 2 of our biggest expenditures. And then there are capital projects such as our new rescue boat. Future projects include e-mountain bikes for rapid response and a team base for storing our vehicles, equipment, and for performing training. So all of these will be accomplished through a combination of donations and grants. So next page. So we've come here tonight. We've already have generous support from the City of Coquitlam, but we're hoping to be more engaged with all of the communities that we serve. And so we're requesting that Anmore Council consider appointing a member to be a liaison for our team. So you guys can ask us questions. Likewise, that's a way for us to engage with you. And next page. We're also asking all of the municipalities to consider supporting search and rescue with an annual financial or in-kind donation to our volunteer organization. And that is all. So I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you so much for the work that you both do and your organization does for keeping us safe and helping out the people. I'll just open up to council if there's any comments. So your council liaison.
Sorry, regarding the council liaison, what would be the expectations? Is it just a point of contact? Like if there's a rescue in the area, you give us a call and just sort of let us know what's going on, or?
Yeah, if there's anything like that you have questions for us about what we're doing in the community, or if you have an ask of us, to maybe attend something or that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I think part of it is that our engagement within the Coquitlam, that they're asking us to go out and sort of liaise with the rest of these communities. And of course, it's challenging from our perspective, not knowing how to navigate Tri-City politics. It's challenging enough, and add the other surrounding municipalities. It's just a connection to those councils, so that we have an ability to reach out to you with any sort of questions that we might have. Similarly, if you guys have a concern or a question for us, it's a place for you to ask us our questions.
Okay.
But
I would be interested in taking on that
minimal
role.
job by all means, yeah.
Okay. I would certainly be interested if nobody else is interested. I would love to do that. I'm kind of an outdoors guy, so I was a scout leader and stuff, so kind of up my alley.
Perfect, yes. Else with coordinating. I guess you do that already with our volunteer fire department.
Yeah, we do some, and that's actually something we're like working a little closer with to try and formalize some of those agreements. We do a lot of things, particularly if there's a medical call in the lower parts of Bunsen. Ambulance essentially tasks both agencies at the same time, and they're a little faster than us, but then the technicality of the extrication or if it starts to get too far away from so we do work with them on some of those things, and I think there's a few more issues that we should reach out and discuss with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to volunteer as well, but I think Paul's a better candidate.
Yeah. That's great. Do we need to do a resolution for Paul, or I know that at some point we had a kind of a brazen break-in
And that's exactly, that would be really assistance, yeah.
No, no worries.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
expected.
Yeah,
Here, so you know that we
Yeah.
offer much more.
yeah, that's right. That's exactly right, yeah.
So, Councillor Trowbridge.
You know, I think there may be an opportunity in the future with the village hub to provide facilities for a number of these issues, and I think that's a worthy cause.
Absolutely, yeah. We're, just to make you aware, we're building across the way a new village hub, which will be a village center, community center with a great deal of storage. It's one of the things that we don't have right now. And we want to start getting, whether it be St. John's ambulance training and that to offer our residents and that, but a lot of things in that. And even having days where you came out and do displays in regards to what you do in that to get more people involved in it would be unbelievable. So good.
If I may,
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a command center too if you guys are doing a rescue in the area, or do you tend to want to be closer to the action?
It's not so much the closeness as the technology part. So I believe it was 5 years ago, was the last time we were in front of this council where he contributed a few dollars towards our command center. It's essentially a $500,000 rescue vehicle, and so most of that is the technology that's inside of it. So the mapping capability and the radios and the ability to track our members in the field. But absolutely, that's one of the things, like particularly this year being challenging, is we ran a large search a few weeks ago, and just being able to spread out and using those spaces, that when we do have the really large searches that happen, and this is one of the areas where that happens, is being able to have other facilities with access to washrooms, or putting out planning sections, or just if the weather is terrible, a place for the volunteers just to be able to refresh and eat and all the rest of that. So that certainly would be something that we could speak to you guys about.
So, yeah, and Tom, one of the things I just wanted to make you aware of, when we start a budget cycle, we actually we allocate a certain amount of dollars off for people to apply for grants and that. And I would strongly suggest, because sometimes we don't get enough people applying for these funds, and especially the things that are really going to benefit our community in that. And this would certainly be something, so please.
And that's exactly what we'll use Councilor Webernick for,
Yeah.
is that connection to be able to know when those cycles are coming up, and what even reasonable requests and stuff are, right? 'Cause
we
you know your communities far better than we do. Right?
Yeah, we like I said, we contribute a lot to the scouting and stuff like that as well. So please make sure you apply, because I know myself, I'd really love to be able to get in and support the good work that you guys do. So thank you very much for coming, and have a good night, and we won't subject you to the rest of the meeting. So anyway, thanks again, and thank you for the good work that you do. Really appreciate it. It's on. Okay, adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting held on September 1st, 2020. Could I get someone to, or the recommendation would be?
That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on September 1st, 2020 be adopted as circulated.
Someone to move that, seconded. Any discussion? See none, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Is there any business arising from those minutes? No, we'll move on to, we don't have a consent agenda. We're on to 9A, legislative reports, municipal approving officer for the village of Anmore. I'll refer this over to Miss Halliwell.
Thank you, yes.
Okay.
Mayor McCune, this is a deferred decision from the last regular council meeting.
Okay.
And since the departure of our former manager of development services, Jason Smith, the village needs to appoint a new municipal approving officer for the village.
Okay, and so the recommendation would be that council appoint Martin Gregg as the municipal approving officer for the village of Anmore pursuant to section 77 of the Land Title Act. Someone to move that. Moved, seconded. Any discussion? See none, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Now we have 9B, the rezoning application for 1130 Mountain Air Lane. A report dated September 10th, 2020 from Richard White is attached. Are you going to, and Councillor Trowbridge is going to recuse himself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what we've taken off the rezoning application.
It's still dealing with your property, so, yeah.
And I'll recuse myself.
Okay, good. Mr. White.
Thank you, Your Worship. You have a report in front of you from the CAO and myself. And we've also received 3 email pieces of, or inquiries, correspondence, which I'll reference as I make my small presentation here. If that's okay with everyone?
Yep.
They all came in today.
Oh, okay.
One as late as 4:30, so.
Okay.
And not to, they kind of got scattered around too. One came directly to me, one came to you, and one came to you this morning, I think. So maybe I'll just run through the report and then reference the communications. So what we've figured out as part of my early tenure here with the municipality is that the method that was being used to deal with a subdivision application at 1130 Mountain Air Lane could have been done through a more simple process, a straight subdivision process. And we've passed correspondence back and forth with the applicant, and we have agreement that that process would be preferable, and that we'd like to put that underway. However, to do that, I think officially it'd be good to rescind the work that's been done to date at the council level. There was a first and second reading back a little bit. It's the first part of the recommendation would be to remove that, and that there's a dedication that will follow. It's part of the subdivision process. It would have been part of the rezoning process as well, and that we would think it would be gracious of council to thank the donation, thank the applicant for that donation, which would come at the time of subdivision. And we also think, Your Worship, that it would be reasonable for the municipality to take on the cost and effort of the necessary rezonings in due course. It doesn't have to happen overnight, but it seems like an unfair sort of expectation to have the donator of would-be parkland then go through the rezoning process at their own expense. So we're suggesting that as well. That's implicit in sending the material back to the approving officer. There's a letter that's come in earlier from the Burrard Inlet Marine Enhancement Society, which was sent to Mayor and Council due to the rezoning nature of the report, and that would be dealt with by the approving officer if Council's agreeable. Now, as luck would have it, I've timed out, so I'm just going to get back onto my computer. We received two related sets of questions from a person that had read noticed the change in the approach, and they were inquiring about whether the work that was being proposed through subdivision could actually happen. They had some technical questions in that regard, and we sent a response to the inquirer, which led to another set of inquiries, and I'll just quickly review those. First was technical considerations. Then they went on to ask about the necessity then of the subdivision process to meet the minimum lot size requirements of the zoning bylaw. And of course, they will have to, and the setbacks and related setting requirements will also have to be met. We've reassured the inquirer of that requirement and that they're planning to meet that. And then another inquiry came in concerning the cancellation of the public hearing, which of course is not necessary with a subdivision. So it's more about, well, that you don't need to do that. It's a subdivision, and a public hearing is not normally a requirement of a subdivision. As a matter of fact, it's not a requirement of a subdivision. Related to that as well was a clarification that the zoning bylaw actually provides for the subdivision that's being proposed, and that was an inquiry that we responded to later today. So I think that's my presentation. If there's any questions, please.
I have two questions. The first question is, so the original rezoning didn't need to be a rezoning, it could simply go as a subdivision, which means that it would not be presented at a council table. Second question is how big is the donation of the land that's being put forth from the applicant?
The value or the
just the size? Yeah.
I think it's around 300 square meters. It's not a large area. I think it's around 300 square meters. Does that ring a bell? I'm not sure I've got that information right in front of me.
Okay. And that's not a requirement of the subdivision, that's just a donation that's being put forth on top?
Yeah, the way I understand it, the applicant is keen to see more people follow in this way.
Okay,
That he views it as something that's a valuable contribution to the municipality. There's
above and beyond any other requirements that he needs to do, yeah, the applicant needs
he's
to.
sticking to that. That maybe we
Yeah.
might have insisted on it
Yeah.
as part of a rezoning application, but he's prepared to carry on with that
Good.
as part of a subdivision.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Any other questions?
The pathway down the center of the property on the far side, I think that's the air lane, is it not? There's a space,
Air lane is the actual right-of-way, the travel
Okay.
portion of the right-of-way.
well, there's a right-of-way behind the property, is there not?
That goes, that's a hydro right away.
Yeah, hydro.
Right away?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the high pressure gas line.
So did you do any research into bears moving along that pathway?
No,
Animals?
not yet. I guess probably the person that could best answer that question isn't in the room right now, and I don't have any information on that.
I don't think we've done any research into that at this stage in the process.
Right. It's just that we live on East Road, and we get a lot of animals coming through through our backyard, and they've obviously come down through that right-of-way, the hydro right-of-way. Now, if that's made into a subdivision,
Sorry, no, the Fortis right away, this subdivision doesn't affect that, that's a Fortis right away going through there. So this subdivision has no effect on that whatsoever.
okay, so what does the parkland that he's donating
It would be
relate
on
to?
North Hill adjacent to, which is now, I guess, the Coots property, up on top of the hill.
So where does the pathway come along?
It would be right beside it. So it would offer, I think, from what I saw it would offer a seating area or a viewpoint area.
But I mean, how will people get there and get out?
They would still be going along the Fortis right away.
Well, that's the question I've got, is how many animals actually go down that way, because if we, I don't know, we can approve it now, right? It's part of a subdivision, so it just goes ahead.
It doesn't get approved to council.
So I just have the plan pulled up here, and the park is indicated on the original plan as 704 meters square in area, and it's north of the statutory right-of-way that we're speaking of. So all of that then would become area that would be able to be accessed by the public.
So that's around 8,000 square feet, so roughly the size of a city lot, not an Anmore lot.
Yeah, about a quarter of an acre.
Yeah.
Really, so the question I've got is, if the right-of-way is to be used by people accessing the park, are we not going to have more conflict with bears and other wildlife in that area?
Well, Your Worship, I think that's always a possibility. If you add more trails, there's going to be more potential for contact. I think there's lots of, I think that's an existing condition that people have concerns about from time to time. But I don't think it's going to, it's not a dangerous area in that respect. It's just no more dangerous than other parts of Anmore.
And that trail is heavily used as it is, so this isn't going to make it worse. It's going to probably offer an opportunity for people when they get up the hill after they climb out of the Mossam Creek Hill to be able to take a moment and reflect and hopefully have a sitting area there that people can go and just enjoy.
And I have one more question. I'm not familiar with the property itself except from the map, but if you go down it's a cul-de-sac, and the property is at the end of the cul-de-sac. So, and this is where I stand to be corrected by other members of council and yourself, I was under the impression that they had to have, for a subdivision to be applicable, a certain amount of access by the roads. And there doesn't seem to be an access point. There's just an access point, not 700 odd feet.
Yeah, it took me a time to look at it too, because the lots themselves are very large and the frontage onto the cul-de-sac is quite small, but it meets the minimum standards of the zoning bylaw. I think the idea probably in terms of if I'm trying to figure it out as a planner, I think what was the idea was to have as few roads as possible and have them on the flats, and where the steeper properties rise or fall, there's going to be a single point of access on a cul-de-sac, and then relatively pie-shaped lots that come off of that. It's not dissimilar from a urban subdivision where you go to the end of the cul-de-sac and there's 5 or 6 lots from there. The distinction is that same technique is being used here for 1 acre lots rather than relatively small lots like 6,000 or 7,000 square feet. So I think the technique is the same. It's applied in a different way because we have large lots in Anmore.
I guess that raises another question. The lot subdivision that's being proposed, it's 3 lots beyond, so that they all have to share the one access point. Is that correct?
No, there there's an existing house that has its own access, and then the 2 new lots will have access off the end of that cul-de-sac on Thompson. Yeah.
Okay.
So one lot will have quite a typical access, and the other 2 new lots will have these accesses onto, it's sort of an elongated pie-shaped lot.
Sorry, just to inform Councillor Laidler, that trail that goes through the ravine now, as Mayor McEwen said, it's well used. And we identified with that when I was on the Parks Committee that we wanted to not develop the trail, but keep it maintained, make it better, improve it, because it's a very important connection. I know my kids used to use it all the time, even to walk to school. So, and now Councillor Trowbridge is the Parks Committee chair. He's pretty aware of it too, and I think that was the reason for the offer. And I think the intent, unless the whole plan's changed, and I haven't seen the new plan, if there is one, is that whole steep area, he couldn't build on that anyway. That's going to be preserved. It won't really change. I did have a question. The mountain air widening. So I read something in the report. Please correct me if I don't understand this. That would be reserved for the future if that lot was ever redeveloped. 'Cause it doesn't really make a lot of sense to widen that part of the road to 20 meters and leave everything else the same. Is that kind of what the report was talking about?
Yes, sir, your worship. The idea would be to take it if we need it,
Right.
and leave it as part of their property. There's 2 benefits there. They don't have a reduction in their lot size. We get a right-of-way,
Right.
which we may never need to use. The other thing that's tricky about the way the wording of the bylaw currently is that it doesn't make reference to the center line. So you might have a jigging and a jogging factor if we took it disproportionately one side or the other. So this will allow us to, I think, more easily obtain those rights of way if a widening is necessary.
Okay, so we have a couple recommendations. The council rescind first and second reading of the Village of Anmore zoning amendment bylaw number 628-2020. Could I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Any further discussion? See none, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. And that the land dedication offer be accepted with thanks, subject to completion of the subdivision, and that July 21st, 2020 letter from Brian and Marine Enhancements is to be referred to the approving officer for consideration as part of the subdivision process. Is this the whole one resolution? Oh, okay. Well, I did the first one, so let's do the second one as one then. So can I get someone to move the second part and third part? Move. Seconded. This is the and that part portion, Tim, or Councillor Layden?
I have a question.
Okay, so it's been moved in second, so I'll open up for questions. Yeah. Mike?
So where it's being referred to the approving officer, we're not approving anything. It's already approved as a subdivision at the moment, right?
I can answer that maybe on behalf of Mr. White.
Okay.
The subdivision has not been approved at this point. This is, the purpose of this report is to remove it from a rezoning application, and essentially then the applicant would apply for a subdivision, and it would be then under the approving officer's authority to process
That's right,
the
yeah.
subdivision.
It's
But
not
nothing has been
council's.
approved at this
No,
point.
no. Okay. Any other questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on. We can get Councillor Trowbridge back in. Thank you, Mr. Wade. As we wait for Councillor Trowbridge and Councillor Cryer to come back in, and it was nice to see some clearing of the skies today.
Yeah, it sure was.
Okay, welcome back. We're on now 11A, new business, Anmore Bear Education Program report. A report dated September 10th, 2020 from our Chief Administrative Officer is attached. Ms. Halliwell.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. So as had been indicated at the last regular council meeting, I'm reporting back on the 2020 Bear Education Program that had been authorized by council back at the beginning of July. So at that time, staff had been directed to engage a part-time bylaw officer to patrol the village on Thursday evenings for approximately 8 weeks in order to educate and enforce the village's solid waste management bylaw. So this really was in an effort to speak to those residents who may be putting their garbage, recycling, or green waste bins out ahead of the allowable time, which is on Friday mornings before 7 a.m., but after 5:30 a.m. in the morning. So there's a table included in your report on page 14 of the agenda package, which essentially shows all of the warnings that were given over the course of those 8 weeks. So the first week, which was July 9th, the bylaw officer issued 30 warnings throughout her patrol that evening. And while there was a little bit of up and down over the course of the weeks, the numbers were reduced as time went on. And the last week, on August 27th, there were only 5 warnings that were issued. The following week, on a Saturday morning, the bylaw officer did go out and check to see whether or not there had been any bins left after collection day, which had been a suggestion of Councillor Trowbridge, and there were 25 who had left them out longer than was allowed under the bylaw. So while there was definitely a significant decrease in the people who put their bins out early, there may also be some more work that needs to be done for people leaving their bins out too long after collection day. I've also included a reminder of the current fine structure. Within our bylaw, we give a warning as the first offense, and then start issuing fines with the second offense, and it goes up from there. We didn't actually issue any fines because all of the people that the bylaw officer was able to connect with promptly brought their bins in after she'd had the conversation, so we felt there was compliance there and no need for fines. You may wish to review the fine structure. I know there have been some queries from members of the public in terms of how our fines compare to other communities. We have confirmed that Port Coquitlam, Port Moody, and Belcarra do all have initial fines of up to $500, so that's quite significant, particularly in comparison to what we have. However, what we're planning to do going forward is just to continue on with the education program. We don't have the bylaw officer in to do the Thursday night patrols, but we'll certainly continue to put the information out there to our residents through all the regular channels that we've been using through social media and our website, etc. So I have a recommendation, and that is that council receive the report titled 2020 Bear Education Program Report Back from the Chief Administrative Officer dated September 10th, 2020 for information.
Someone to move that? Moved, seconded. I have to say that our fines are certainly not in the same realm of these other municipalities, but I am encouraged by the progression of people learning and the education concept. So I'm fine with just keeping it the way it is at this point in time until if there's any other issues. But I think the education is the key thing to be able to educate people in what they can and can't put out there. So any other comments? Councillor Later.
I agree with Mayor McEwen on what he said, but I have noticed a bin that's still out there, and today is Tuesday, so it's been there since Friday.
Wow.
So maybe we need a bylaw so that.
Yeah. Good. Councillor Trowbridge.
A question first. The second offense, if any of these 30 and then 25 that have already been warned, if that happens again, is that now a finable offense?
That's correct, yeah. So all of the residents that were spoken to were tracked and logged. So if there is a second offense, they will be issued a fine going forward.
Okay, I think that's a good thing because we need to fund the education program.
Good. Okay. Yes, Councillor Cryer.
I agree with everything that's been said, but I do think we should reconsider our fine structure, not this year, but I think we should continue to follow up on it simply because that's a big gap between the other three municipalities and ours when we certainly have more of a bear population. And if our I think we should keep in mind that if the bear education program isn't as successful as we had hoped, once we continue to monitor, I think we should take a good look at those fines.
I think we'll have to revisit it. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We're now on to the update on the financial sustainability report dated September 10th, 2020 from our Chief Administrative Officer, Ms. Halliwell.
Thank you. So this report is coming back in following direction from council that staff obtain a quote to provide an update to the 2013 Van Struth Consulting Financial Sustainability Study. That was from the July 21st regular council meeting. So some work was done over the summer months, and actually Mr. White, our planning consultant, engaged with a couple of the local consultants that he is aware would undertake this work. And so this report just gives some feedback that was received. So essentially, while council is looking for an update to the 2013 plan, both of the consultants felt that a more fulsome review would need to be undertaken, particularly because the OCP has been updated since 2013, and as well there have been some other development discussions that have happened in the past 7 years that might cause a more fulsome update to the report rather than just sort of tweaking some of the numbers. So there was a range of budgets that were included in these sort of preliminary discussions, and it was anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 to redo the report. So at this time, I'll certainly take further direction from council. However, I do have a recommended option you can consider, which is that that council directs staff to include a project for consideration during the 2021 to 2025 five-year financial plan deliberations titled Financial Sustainability Plan Update.
Can I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. I just wanted to say a couple comments. I think it's, I know when we did the first Van Struth, it was very much pressured because we were revisiting our OCP, and the APC, the Advisory Planning Commission that was working on the OCP, really needed it to make some decisions. And it was a very, very valuable tool, and it really outlined our financial viability if we didn't make dramatic changes. I think this is a prudent method that we start saving up for it for in another 5 years when we probably would be doing an official community plan revisit. I think that we, through urban systems and our asset management plans, we have a fairly good handle on where our assets lie at this point in time. I think the unknown is, where is taxation going to go with the cost of certain capital, road rehabilitation and all the infrastructure and that challenges. So I'm certainly happy with putting off, but I think that we should start putting money away in our 5-year plan in regards so that we can tackle this and have it ready for when the next official community plan is revisited. So, Councillor Weber.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm always wondering, should we do the financial plan before the OCP or the OCP before the financial plan? Because the two kind of inform each other. I almost think you have to do it at the same time. It almost has to be one big working operation because you may make this OCP decisions that affect, obviously, financial sustainability. I think we're, maybe not right away, but I think we're due for an OCP update. I think, I don't know what's happening with IOCO lands, but it's going to come up again. And that's going to be a big discussion. That might be the time to really redo the OCP. you know, because we're obviously going to having a lot of discussions with the public about what's going to happen there. So I think it'd be prudent to include that in the budget, sort of estimating that it's probably going to come up in that time somewhere.
Any other comments? Councillor Trowbridge.
Yeah, I think it should be done by a third party, the way it was done before. However, you know, I don't know if there's a hybrid approach that doesn't overtask you guys, obviously staff, that we can just update some of the key metrics without a super deep dive, just sort of on a superficial basis, to have some numbers in our heads relative to potential magnitude. And then I agree, let's save up and do a more fulsome one as we revisit OCP and so on. But I like what you're talking about in terms of having staff do a tweaking, as long as that's not diverting staff's attention significantly.
Yeah, for clarity, I think that, you know, because the information was originally pulled together from a consultant, I think that it probably is a better task for a consultant to actually do those tweaks. So I don't think that it would be within staff's capacity or purview to actually undertake that work. But I could certainly go back and see if there's any element that could be updated without it being a more fulsome project.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
And even engage with our financial consultant as well and see if there's anything they can do just to tweak just to update our current position in that relative to what the assumptions were made back with the Van Struth. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We're now on to the Mayor's report. I've got a few items. So the recent break-in in the north section of the village, the brazen break-in in the morning, I followed up with, I think it's Captain Flores today, from the RCMP. He said the investigation is still active. He said that they don't have any new information that they can share with us. I did ask him if they could increase patrols in regards to our municipality. He commented that our municipality is one of the safest municipalities throughout the Lower Mainland, but he would see what he could do. And I said, well, you know, maybe safe, but we are not used to this sort of type of crime that happens here and that. So I made him very, very, very well aware of our service levels that we're expecting, and that we want to make sure that our residents are safe and secure. And it's something that is very, very important to this council, and I told him that we would be continuing to follow up. So I feel absolutely horrible for what happened to these people, and we have to make sure that as neighbors we keep an eye on. And one of the things I was going to suggest is that we initially, the start of our term, had a protective services committee being led by former constable and our Councillor Laidler, and I'm wondering if we could try and get that resurrected, if we could get some members of the community. I talked to Councillor Laidler already, and he said he'd be more than willing to chair it if we could get some people to apply. So it would start getting, and they would be branching out to getting reestablishing and making sure everything was in check with our block watch, and be a liaison with the RCMP as well. And we're so fortunate to have Councillor Laidler on our council to be able to do that. So I'm urging, and I would ask that staff put out a message on all our social media things, seeing if people wanted to apply.
If I could just add some commentary. I think that it would probably be a good idea, because the Public Safety Committee hasn't been in existence for some time now, for Council to consider the terms of reference before we seek any volunteers, just to ensure that it's clear the intent of this committee, and certainly what it might be able to contribute. So we can take a look at that for sure.
Perfect. Well, thank you for putting your name back forward, and if we could then for the next council meeting to have those terms of reference, so we can make an effort to reestablish and put and solicit residents to see if they could get back involved. I also, relating to the health and safety of the committee, I had an inquiry from Debbie Buke regarding speed on the side roads through Anmore, and there seems to be a bit of social media concerns with the speed that is happening on. My concern, and I said back to her, how would we enforce this? I don't know how we could. We have challenges right now enforcing a lot of the bylaws that we have in the community, but I was wondering if you could make an inquiry into the RCMP and see if they've noticed any issues with speeding on the side roads. I know that they are making a diligent effort around with the schools going back at the intersection at Thompson and East Road, as well as Elementary and Sunnyside. So if we could please get some reports back, and maybe even we could ask if there are specific side streets, if people could inquire or let us know, and then we could maybe even ask them to set up a speed watch and that for the few cars that go back and forth. So.
I can also add that the RCMP do have a volunteer speed watch group, and I believe any resident who's interested in having speed watch set up can actually phone in and make the request, and then the RCMP will consider it and schedule it as they've got resources available.
Perfect. I just wanted to provide an update of Bunsen Lake traffic. It seems like the traffic for the lake is starting to subside with the change of season. I thought that including BC Hydro, the Village of Anmore, our bylaw people, the RCMP, everybody did a really diligent job in regards to controlling the traffic and the influx in that. We had unprecedented times this year with the COVID-19 breakout, limited capacity at all the lakes, and I just wanted to say a big thank you to all the different agencies that were involved in this, because it was a challenging, very, very challenging time. So thank you, and we are hopefully going to be meeting with Hydro in the coming weeks just to keep reviewing and revising our plan moving forward. I just wanted to, I had a virtual meeting with MP Nellie Shin last week, and a discussion ensued regarding our new community hub. She is going to be providing us a letter of support for that to go to the government. She is also wanting to hold a virtual meeting through Anmore, and she's going to, I think she's working with Carmen in regards to setting it up for any of our residents. She has been getting a lot of inquiries from small business owners, which our village is full of, a lot of them, with some of the concerns they have in regards to the COVID-19 relief. So it was really encouraging having a great talk with her. This Thursday, we have an upcoming meeting with the Saskatchewan Volunteer Fire Department regarding the fire underwriter survey audit that has been thrown around. I can tell you that Anmore is certainly, we have the highest rating as it stands, a 3A rating in regards to the fire underwriter survey, which is an audit company that in essence works for the insurance company. We certainly wouldn't want to make any issues about it. We have a great fire department, and we wouldn't want it affecting any of our insurance rates up here. We meet all the standards, and that's why we have such a great rating. And that's about it. And the other thing was really sad story about one of my neighbor dogs getting taken from a cougar. There is signs out alerting people to some of the wildlife in the area. Please be cautious out there when you're walking, especially smaller dogs. There seems to be reports that there is a cougar in the neighborhood. It's kind of traveling between Westwood Plateau Golf Course and through Belcara. So there is something out there right now. So please be cautious. And the other thing is that we are doing an extensive work on our roadworks right now. I know that today's Sunnyside Road was shut down. Please be patient. This work will be short-lived, and the benefits will be amazing. We're going to have bike lanes. We're going to have covered bus stops. We're going to have walking paths that people can really enjoy. So they're making the best that they can through the great weather that we're having right now. So, but please also be cautious, as I had a resident contact me the other morning who was a surgeon trying to come out of Uplands, and he had a tough time getting out. Traffic, unless it's notified, we're supposed to be able to move traffic every 10 minutes through the village hall, and although now we've got a couple streets blocked off, but that's for safety reasons. So please check with the village website in regards to what's on the plan for the roadworks and what roads are going to be affected. Sorry for the long ramble. Thank you. Councillor Laidler.
Regarding what you were saying about the speeding, is there some way that we could look at speed bumps again, particularly along East Road? Because when you go down Port Moody and you go over their speed bumps, you have to slow down so you can take your undercarriage out. Now, I know there's a problem here from the fire department, but Port Moody must have the same problems, and they've got bigger speed bumps than we've got.
Unfortunately, we're not allowed to put anything that limits speed or capacity on the MRN roads, which is East Road and Sunnyside Road. So we are not allowed to do that under our MRN funding agreement. I did want to add as well, Ms. Buke also commented that there seems to be a bit of a parking issue now by the mailboxes on Thompson and East Road. And I think she believes what's happened, and I agree with her, that people now are parking there and then using the bus as a traffic thing there. So I was hoping that I could just put on a recommendation to Public Works if they could put a few no parking signs around where the mailbox is at the right at the connection there of Thompson and East Road, right by the four-way stop. So, sorry. Yeah, we're limited on that. So
The only thing is, in McEwen, is we do have speed bumps already on East Road.
we don't
Do we not?
officially have speed bumps on East Road.
We don't officially.
No.
Unofficially. Can we make them bigger?
We do have a raised sidewalk, a raised crosswalk at Strong and East Road. That's all that we have.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. A couple of things. I'm glad you brought up the Public Safety Committee, and I hope, considering all of the conversation on Facebook and social media, I would hope that there would be quite a few people that will step up to join that committee. I know we had difficulty finding people to join earlier, but we seem to have a new sense of urgency, and I think it's terrific that you've stepped up and wanted to take that on. So thank you for that, Councillor Laidler. I also wanted to say a thank you to the RCMP because they do seem to be having a bigger presence in the community. I think it could possibly be more to do with school back in session, but it does always make me feel better when I see them along the streets as I'm driving in and out of the village. And lastly, I wanted to give a thank you to Member of Parliament Ron McKinnon. Each year he does a community champion barbecue for volunteers in the community who have done a lot of things, and I was able to participate in that this year virtually, and it was lovely. He had barbecue delivered to all of our doors, and then we got on our Zoom call, and there were special PowerPoint presentations about everyone, and we were able to all speak, and it was really well done considering we're all a little COVID weary and missing doing regular activities, but he did a really good job, so I thought it was an important to say thank you to Member of Parliament Ron McKinnon. And that is all.
Good. Any other, Councillor Weber?
Yeah, I did want to talk about that break-in. I think that particular break-in took it to a whole new level for Anmore.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people were upset about it. I was losing sleep over it. It really upset the community. I cannot imagine what it's like if you're lying in your bed and somebody kicks in your front door, grabs what they can, takes off after slashing your tires. This is not a minor petty break-in to a car that we're used to. But I'm also glad to see how many people were upset about it and how many people were engaged on social media about it. I mean, we feel this family's pain. Everybody, this could have been any of us. So to Councillor Cryer's point, I don't think we're going to lack volunteers for this committee. I think you're going to see a big commitment from this community to address this. We're not an easy target up here. We're going to get on this. So I think that's exciting. And on a positive note, I don't know what you guys were like on Sunday, but I was depressed sitting in all this smoke. And I put something out on Anmore Conversations. I need help. Please post a nice picture or something of Anmore on a beautiful day. And I had such a good response. It was over 100 responses between likes and it got conversation going. It was just so positive in this midst of, fire smoke and COVID and everything bad. It was a really bright part of my day. So I thank the whole community that participated in that. And I'll do it the next day that I'm depressed.
Good. Well, thank you. Okay, I'll move on to the Chief Administrative Officer's report. Ms. Halliwell.
Thank you. Mayor McCune did a great job going over the construction, so I'll skip over that one. I just wanted to let everybody know to expect at some point by the end of this week that we'll be providing an update on the Anmore Green Estates sewer connection project. So initially we'll be distributing information electronically, and that'll be followed up by a mail drop as well. On that sort of, information being available electronically, I wanted to give a big thanks to Carmen in our office, as well as Michelson Consulting, who's our communications consultant. They've been doing an incredible job of updating the website and putting as much up-to-date, current, and live information on there, including a great page for the construction work that's been going on, including schedules, where the work's happening, why it's happening. So I would encourage everybody to go to the website if you've got questions. And in a similar vein, they've been doing a lot of work on our social media to make sure that we're getting as much information out to our residents and the members of the public that we can. So I just wanted to give a big thanks to them for all of their hard work.
Good. Thank you. And I was remiss to comment for a big thank you to Public Works. They are doing an absolutely amazing job with the work that they've been doing on the trails, on the parks, and that they are really doing a great job, and it's certainly showing in the community, and it's great to see the community taking advantage of all the assets the natural assets that we have. Public question period. Do we have any questions?
Thank you. I do have one question in addition to the questions that were already addressed during the presentation for 1130 Mountaineer. So this question is from Lynn Burton, and it's regarding documenting on the regular council meeting minutes in the public input section and question period and reports regarding a comment about identifying the person who asked a question or said information, but that she feels it would be useful to know more information in those details, and I'm happy to comment on how the minutes are presented if you wish.
Sure.
Thank you. So the council minutes are intended to be the official record of the village for the decisions made by council. We do try to include some details of information presented in the report, but the reports are always available on our website and attached to the same place that the minutes are. And further, in terms of question period or public input, we've recently now started streaming our meetings on YouTube, and they're available as an archive. So if anybody feels like they would require any further information than what is included in the minutes, I would certainly encourage them to take a look at that archive.
Good. Thank you very much. We'll see nothing further. Move to adjourn. Move seconded. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight, and hopefully the sky's clear and we get rid of the smoke and enjoy the weather, and have a good week. Thank you.